Welcome to another exciting Unity tutorial with me, Romy Fauzi. In this video, I'm going to show you a new tools that I've created called Path Tools. And with this tool, you can create a custom path for movement or for anything else. And it has this control like Bezier like control here, and you can customize the control. You can add orientations. You can set up orientations. You can show the orientations here, and we can set up different orientations on each node, and it will automatically interpolate the rotations from one node to another node here. And we can also put a object to follow this path, and I'm going to show you how the plane behave or moves. As you can see, when I run this, it moves with the path here. So you can use this for designing an enemy movement in a shoot 'em up games. Okay, so let's jump to the tutorial. But before we jump into the tutorials, if you want to learn how to create a game from scratch to a complete game, check out my online Unity courses. I've published a couple of courses covering best practices in game development with topics ranging from programming to visual tuning, desktop to a mobile platform, object-oriented programming, and many other useful tips. With the price of a takeaway, you'll get lifetime access to the course. Link in the description below. So first, in order to use the Path Tool script that I've created, we can go to the GitHub page, and I will put the link in the description. Here is the GitHub page, and I've already prepared a release package. So if you want to download the package, you can go to this release tab and then download the Unity package. I've already prepared one on my folder here, so let's just do that. Here in this Unity project, I've already imported Playmaker since I want to show you how to use it with Playmaker later, and I also already import a 3D model of a spaceship that I've created. So in order to use these path tools, we can just simply create an empty game object, and we can reset this empty game object, and then we can rename this. I'm going to rename this to path object. Now I have created the path object here. I'm going to import the path tool package. So here, go to the assets menu, import package, choose custom package, and I'm going to import this path tools 0.12. And you can import everything. If you don't use Playmaker, you can uncheck this Playmaker custom actions, but if you use it, you can just enable this. So now I'm going to import this, and once we finish importing the package, we can add the path script to this game object here. So now let's just add the path script. I'm going to type path, and now we have this path script component here. So basically, in order to create a path, you can just press add nodes, and this will create a new nodes, and it will create a node in a random position near of the origin of the path object. And I'm going to create a couple more nodes here. Now, once we have multiple nodes, you see that it creates a couple of nodes. Then to modify the nodes, we can just press the dots here, and we can move this around. Like this one here, I can move this, and I can move this. And once we select one of the nodes, you see that we will have this Bezier handle that we can select, and we can also adjust. So let's just create an interesting shape. I'm going to create some circular path here. Okay, so now we have this curve here. If we want to create a closed loop, we can just enable this closed loop here. Here on the inspector, the path script will show the selected node here. So for example, if I select this one here, this is the first node, and it says that the current selected node is 0. So this is the first index, and here on each of the nodes here, we can adjust each of the options which has orientations and tangent type. So in order to modify each of the node, we need to select the node first, and we can adjust its custom properties for each node. And the path is basically always local related to the game object here. So for example, if I move the game object around, then the path will move, and the object that are going to follow this path will follow this transform here. So this will make it easier to reposition the curve, so we don't need to modify the curve position to do that, to move all of them. And another interesting things that I've implemented here is that we can show the orientations of the path and we can adjust the orientations each of the nodes here. So for example, if I select the path object here, let's just press show orientation. By default, all of the orientation will show this red line pointing up. And if we select one of the nodes here, we have this orientations option, and we can change the value. And as we change this value, you see that the orientations will change direction. And this can be used for rotating the object while moving along the path. We can use these orientations as the up vector of an object if we want to create like a aeroplane or spaceship movement that are banking while taking a turn. So here I'm going to set this value around 60 degrees. So it tilted slightly here. And here let's also set this to 60 degree. I'm going to make the handle longer here. So we have quite a straight line in this area here. And the same one with this curve. Let's just adjust this a bit, like so. Okay, so now that we have this path created, we can also change the tangent type to align and free. For if we change this to free, then we can create a non-symmetric tangent like so. And if we set this back to align, then we can use the symmetric tangent or symmetric Bezier. So this is basically how we create a script and set up the script. And now for the object, I've already prepared a plane model. I'm going to enable this, and this is the plane model. It's quite big. I'm going to scale down to like 10% of the previous scale. And now we need to make sure that one thing here, if we set the orientation to local or global, if this is global, then change this to local, and make sure that when we are selecting the spaceship, the blue arrow or the blue gizmo arrow, which is the Z directions, pointing forward. Otherwise, you won't have a correct rotation when the spaceship are moving along this path here. Okay, so now in order to make this spaceship to move along the path, we can add a move along path script onto the plane object, and then we can drag the path object to the path slot on this script here. Now once we move this, you see the ship change its position to start from the distance, the first distance or the distance 0 in this path. And here we have the debug option to see the movement if we scrub this distance here. So this is basically for debugging or for testing. And now if we enable the use custom up vector, then it will use the custom up when the ship is moving along the path. It will ignore this orientation that we have set up on the curve. Okay, so in the move along path script, we also have the speed options. This is the movement speed and this is the rotation speed for lerping the rotations between point. And here the loop node, it's a type of loop that we can use whenever we want to move along a path. So we have stop, we have loop, and ping pong. Let's just give it a try. I'm going to change the speed to around 4. And now let's press play. And here if we see on the scene view, you see that the ship moves one time, circling path, and then it stops. And if we change this to loop, it will move indefinitely. Like so. And now let's try ping pong. With ping pong, once it reaches the endpoint, it will reverse its movement. So it will keep moving back and forth between the starting to the end point. Another option that we can use is we can use the Playmaker custom action. I'm going to remove the move along path from the spaceship object here, and I'm going to open my Playmaker editor, and I'm going to dock it here. And in order to use this path with Playmaker, we can easily create a new FSM here, and basically on the state here, we can add an action, and I've already created action called path tools follow. I'm going to add this, And this basically works the same as our move along script component here. So let's just create a new variable. And I'm going to set this type to object here. And I'm going to call this path. And I'm going to expose this path so we can see it on the inspector here. And for the object type, I'm going to go to Romy, Path Tools, and choose Path Script. Now we have set up the object type. We can drag the path object to the slot here, and it will register the path script that we've defined on our path object. So now here under the state here, I'm going to use variable on the path slot here and pick path. And for the speed, let's set the same value, 4 and 5 for the rotation speed. And for the follow path rotation, we can enable this. And we can use custom up vector here. So for example, if we set this to 1 and set the loop type to loop here, we can run this. And once it plays, you see that it will set the up vector on the normal up, I mean in the world up, so it doesn't have banking effects applied. So how do we use this orientations on our curve if we want to use it with the Playmaker actions? We can just simply set this custom up vector to none by enabling the use variable and set this to none. And this will disregard this value and it will grab the orientations that we have set up on our path. And here we also have loop type. We can change those loop type similar to the C# version. Stop will stop the object one time. Once it's already moved along the path, loop will keep the object moving indefinitely or infinitely. And ping pong will make the object move back and forth between the start to the end point and reverse. On the Playmaker actions also, we can get the maximum path distance to a variable, and we can also get the current distance. So for example, if we want to check the current distance of our object along the path, we can output this into a variable. So for example, I'm going to create a new variable called current distance. Now I have this debug options checked. We can see the value here. So if we press play, you see that the distance increasing and it resets to 0 once it's finished all of the cycle. So on new laps, it starts from 0, and with the custom up vector set to none here, you see that the object is following the orientations of the path. So yeah, that is basically how to use the path tools that I've created, and I hope you like this video. Please give it a try, and if you could report any bugs, I will be grateful. I hope you find this tool useful, and if you like this video, please hit that like button and subscribe. See you on the next video.